The Beatles are considered one of the greatest bands of all the time. They had one of the biggest fan bases in the world, and their music was critically acclaimed. However, when they first debuted in 1960, the group was heavily looked down upon by music critics and the general public. So when did the Beatles start to be taken seriously and be remembered as music legends? A compilation of early reviews by Los Angeles Times shows that the Beatles started being cool when men decided they liked them. At the beginning, many critics like to focus on the fact that the Beatles fanbase was made up of teenage girls and young women, and that was what made them a horrible band. The Science newsletter wrote, "The Beatles follow a line of glamorous figures who arouse passionate cries and deep swoons. Their glory will pass when they get too old to be teenagers' idols, or when teenagers get too old to need them." The Boston Globe wrote, "Teenagers, go ahead and enjoy your Beatlemania. It won't be fatal and will give you a lot of laughs a few years hence when you find one of their old records or come across a picture of Ringo in a crew cut." The Nation wrote, "The reaction at Carnegie Hall was not a real response to a real stimulus. The full house was made up largely of upper middle class young ladies, stylishly dressed, carefully made up, brought into town by private cars or suburban buses for their night to howl, to let go, scream, bump, twist, and clutch themselves ecstatically. And parents, be careful, because the longer parents object with such high dudgeon, the longer children will squeal so hysterically." The Beatles were considered a huge joke, a wacky gag, disorganized amateurs. They induced mental disturbance. Not even their mothers would claim that they sing well. Girls thought they were good looking and well dressed, so visually they were a nightmare. Tight, dandified Edwardian beatnik suits and great pudding balls of hair. They sang about love, so musically they were a near disaster. Their lyrics were a catastrophe. The Beatles were not merely awful. It would be sacrilegious to say anything less than they are god awful. They are so unbelievably, horribly, so appallingly unmusical. But don't worry, don't let the Beatles bother you. If you don't think about them, they will go away. And in a few more years, they will probably be bald. The odds are that they will fade away, as most adults confidently predict." Do these comments kind of sound familiar? What's that you say? You don't speak Korean? Well, rest assured, the little girls will understand.
Kids have been camped out in line for days.
How did this become a thing in Western culture where all these grown men and little girls are off to little K-pop boys?
It actually marks the first time 15-year-old girls everywhere found themselves wishing that they were Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez.
We were going to send the band outside to the audience, but the police and the fire department and our lawyers said at least 100 people would be killed if we did that. So
I don't even know what to call them, boys or girls, because I don't know what they are. Look at these people. Look at this one. Look at those highlights. Those chunky Tony and Guy mall salon highlights.
I don't know. I think they look very nice.
Oh! That is not what you were saying during the break!
I can't get behind it.
So a little spoiler about the Beatles' popularity. They never faded away, and they went from a silly boy band teenage girls liked to rock legends. But it was only after women already pushed the Beatles to the top when men claimed credit for the group's discovery.
From their EP Map of the Soul Persona, ladies and gentlemen, BTS.
The Guardian published a story in 2019 about mentrification, which derives from the word gentrification. While gentrification describes the process by which one improves a place so it conforms to middle-class taste, mentrification achieves an equal status transformation by taking the history of female participation and achievement and festooning its narrative with fallacies. In other words, things girls and women like are irrelevant and stupid, until the moment men decide they are not stupid anymore. This is why it can be so infuriating for ARMY's, BTS's fandom, every time the media describes BTS as a silly boy band for 15-year-old girls. BTS is, along with Bad Bunny, Taylor Swift, and Drake, the biggest artists in the world. But while these artists get recognized for their amazing discography and talent, BTS is mainly recognized by critics for their crazy fanbase of teenage girls. And this stigma is what prevents critics and the general public to give BTS a fair chance to be recognized for their high-quality music. And this is not only about boy bands like the Beatles or BTS. It's about everything girls and women like. Star Trek became serious nerd business once men decided the franchise should stop being perceived as light, fluffy, not really legitimate sci-fi that housewives liked. Using computers was considered a female duty until men decided they were more than that. It was a group of women who programmed the first computer. Even the word computer was used to refer to women mathematicians who solved astronomical riddles for male professors, because looking at plates for hours on end was considered boring and a specialized work, so professors turned to women to perform the duties. Among others, beer, writing novels, Star Trek, and computers are now considered things for men, because their original association with women was redrawn for audiences of men. Now, when it comes to fandoms, there's always been a certain stigma against female-dominated fandoms, especially the fandoms of good-looking male artists. It's so common for society to call female-dominated fandoms crazy, rabid, and obsessive. However, this doesn't happen as much in male-dominated fandoms, even though we share the exact same characteristics. This graphic by Research BTS shows the characteristics of die-hard fandoms and compares sports fans with boyband fans. Both sports fans and ARMY share a sense of community. We can recognize each other and form an instant bond because we share a common interest.
We know who's not ARMY, like we can sense it, we can feel it in our bones.
Both fandoms attend one or all live events of the season or tour. When we can't go to one of the events, we watch a live stream version of it and follow the highlights on social media. When we watch them play or perform, we scream from joy and excitement. We are also emotional when our team or group loses or shows vulnerability. Also, both sports fans and ARMY have very particular fan chants dedicated only for our group or team. Both sports fans and ARMY buy and collect merchandise. We dress up for events. We create a community and engage with other fans on social media. We share a sense of loyalty and passion for our team or group. And most importantly, we take them seriously. We respect and admire them as athletes and artists. And just think about any other male-dominated fandom. Comic fans, movie fans, or gamers also share most of these characteristics. So if we are all so familiar, why are ARMYs the only ones being called rabid, obsessive, and crazy, even when there is a prevalence of violence in sports fandoms that doesn't really exist in female-dominated fandoms like ARMY?
I'm 33.
I'm 34.
I'm 36 years old.
I'm 44 years old.
Almost 48 years old.
I'm 48 years old.
I'm just over 50.
I'm 52 and I'm in my mid-50s.
I'm 56.
I'm 61.
I'm 64.
And I love BTS. And I'm ARMY.
And I'm an ARMY.
And I'm a BTS fan.
And I like BTS.
I've gone to bat for BTS a number of times. I was 72, now I'm 73. I'm a 73-year-old man. So what have you done?
I can show you a study after study after study that demonstrate that ARMYs are not a monolith. ARMY is a diverse space full of people of all ages, genders, sexualities, and races. And like I just said, I can show you all the data right here, but it's simple logic. Nowadays, it's extremely hard for artists, even if they are extremely popular, to sell out stadiums. Most big artists sell out arenas. However, BTS doesn't only sell out stadiums, but also they create more revenue in one single show than any other artist's entire tours. Harry Styles had to perform 23 times to match a single BTS concert. Coldplay will have to perform 44 times to make what BTS made in one night. Other artists are not even close. Also, BTS is the #1 artist in the world when it comes to album sales, and ARMY is the fandom with the most charity donations under its name. My point is that there are a lot of people willing to donate for charities as well as pay for albums, merch, flights.
Of you are going to the BTS concert?
Hotels, and tickets for a BTS concert. And these fans cannot be kids. These are adults with a job and an income that let them do all of these things.
Older fans often have more disposable income. That helps them afford the band's merchandise and concert tickets and creates an advertising market for the products the band promotes to older consumers, including Samsung phones and Hyundai cars.
This is why you will see that there are not many kids in BTS's concerts. The adults who go there go because they wanted to, not because their kid asked them to go.
You'll see a lady who's like 60 years old and I'll be like, oh, where's your daughter? She's like, what do you mean? I'm here by myself. Like, it's all walks of life. It's like every nationality, it's 6-year-olds to 60-year-olds.
Another simple way of proving that BTS's fandom is mostly adults is by looking at the associations created by ARMY professionals. The BTS ARMY Medical Union is a community of licensed medical professionals and med students dedicated to inform and help other armies in anything related to medicine. There's also the BTS ARMY Bar Association, formed of ARMY lawyers, the ARMY Engineers Union, formed of ARMY engineers, ARMY Computer Science, formed of computer science and cybersecurity experts, the ARMY Academy, formed of ARMY tutors of different courses like science, languages, math, social science, computer science, and art, and Research BTS, the ones who do research and graphics like this. All of this is a result of a dedicated, grown-up fandom. There are way more armies in their 20s, 30s, and 40s than armies who are under 18. It's also interesting that BTS were able to gain a massive worldwide dedicated fanbase. BTS is huge in basically every single continent, and this is just my opinion coming from a country where we don't speak English, but I can tell that it is so common for us to accept and listen to music in other languages. We don't speak English, but we all know about the Beatles or Michael Jackson. However, it's so rare for countries like the US or the UK to listen to music in other languages. They barely accept one song a year in Spanish, when it's so common for the rest of the world to welcome other languages. So I think armies from around the world want to not only celebrate BTS's achievements in our countries, but also a fantastic foreign group like BTS dominating the Western music industry is refreshing and long overdue. The weird thing is that BTS already has the approval of men. BTS's fanbase are mostly women, but men are a big part of the fandom. Just like what happened with the Beatles, BTS is getting more and more recognition from male critics and general public. So why are they still not taken seriously? I think it's because critics and the general public, who are also ARMY, follow BTS's steps and don't try to gatekeep BTS as a good group because they say it is. Male armies don't dismiss BTS's female-dominated fandom. They uplift them. Actually, the biggest and most respectable ARMY fanbase is BTS chart data. The account is run by only one person, a male ARMY. Just like him, male armies agree with BTS's message, and it's almost impossible for them to try to gatekeep BTS because that would mean not taking BTS seriously and contradicting their message. So instead of saying that BTS is good because a lot of armies are grown-up men, they say BTS is good because they are good. Their music is good, their performance is good, their lyrics and production are good, their message is good, and anyone can see that. From 25-year-old Bella Poarch
I went to the BTS concert.
to 45-year-old John Cena.
I got interested in the music, and then I got interested in what the music stood for. They're great performers, but is the message they send, it resonates with the people, man. That's work, and that's purpose, and that's changing the world.
From a 15-year-old girl to a 73-year-old man. I do wonder if someday male critics will convince the general public to give BTS a fair chance. Will BTS someday have the approval of men, like the Beatles, for example? After thinking about it, I personally don't think they will, at least not this way. Because unlike the Beatles, BTS never tried to change their image to attract a bigger male audience. BTS is not ashamed of having a female-dominated fandom. They actually acknowledge it and are proud of it. I also think that BTS faces many unfair disadvantages because they are not only considered a boy band for 15-year-old girls, but also they are not white, they are not from a Western country, they sing mostly in Korean, and they are still considered just K-pop. However, I do believe that there is going to be some kind of change for chapter 2 or 3. I do believe that there is going to be a more mature sound, but I don't think it's going to be because they want to have a bigger male audience than a female audience. They are going to grow as artists because that's what they've been doing for the past 10 years. When When they were in school, they wrote songs about the school system and love as a teenager. When they became young adults, they wrote about youth and called it the most beautiful moment in life. When they entered their mid-20s, they wrote about humans' temptations and desires. When they entered their late 20s, they wrote about what it means to be human and exist, basically. When we all experienced a worldwide pandemic, they wrote about living in a pandemic. And I can confidently say that all of these are works that should be critically acclaimed. These are all works that should be taken seriously because they carry big messages that impacted a generation and are a vital part of pop culture, but they aren't taken seriously. This is good music that a lot of people are dismissing simply because they don't want to be associated with a 15-year-old fandom. So my conclusion is, grow up, stop being misogynistic. Yes, there are a lot of ARMYs who are 15-year-old girls, and they are smart, talented, and unashamed of their interests. And it will surprise you a lot how many ARMYs look exactly like you. So don't let your preconceived notions prevent you from listening to BTS. Their diverse fandom comes from BTS's diverse discography. The #1 rule with BTS is don't assume. Don't assume it's only pop music. Don't assume they can only dance. Don't assume they only talk about love. Don't assume they don't write their own music. Don't let your assumptions prevent you from listening to great artists and great music.
But it's rare to get to work with living legends. I mean, they are young, but they're still at this point living legends.